All right, hello everyone. I know you're all coming into the webinar now because we just started. So I'm going to give it about a minute or so and allow some more attendees to come into the room, and then we'll get started in a few minutes, maybe about a minute or two. This is the part where we probably need waiting music, you know. Okay, let's get started. Let us get this ball rolling. So, good morning, everybody. I just want to thank you for joining the webinar today. And in case we've never met, my name is Natalie Monkou, and I work for the town of Vienna as the Economic Development Manager. And I just want to thank Janae Padmore for helping put this great panel group together. And I really do hope that those of you joining us today will find the information to be super relevant for you and timely so that you can make great decisions for your business. And we, as an economic development department in the town, we're pretty new, but we want to be able to put together relevant and timely programming. So please don't hesitate to reach out to our office and let us know how we can help support you in the business community. And this is our second part in a two-part series that talks about getting prepared for the colder weather. And in this webinar, we're hoping to actually bring the creative ideas to life and address some of the safety and health protocols, the processes with the town and with the county as well. But we're also going to hit back on one of the main topics when we think about colder weather, which is heating. So I'm gonna introduce Janae Padmore, who works with the town in the Economic Development Office, and she will walk us through the rest of our panel today.
Thank you, Natalie. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to see all of our panelists and all of our participants. Thank you for joining for part two of this wonderful winterization series. Just to let you know, we are recording and I will be monitoring all Q&A. So please put your Q&A, any questions you have for our panelists in the chat box. Just to let you know, oh yeah, Peggy, we'll make sure to get some notes for you for my last meeting. Just to let you know, this is the format. So we'll have four presentations. So our first presentation will be with our Fire Marshal's Office, Michael Peruti. He will give us just some wonderful information about regulations regarding safety with regards to heating and what you can do in your outdoor spaces. Our second presentation will be with the Planning and Zoning Department with the town of Vienna. And so they will tell you just a few reminders on what you need to be aware of. And after that, we'll have our Q&A for that first part. Then we'll go to our third presentation, which is with the Fairfax County Health Department. And we'll have another Q&A section. Then we will end our wonderful presentation with Bromic Heating with Leonardo Murata. He was part of our first part, and he will go into a deeper dive into what you can do for your outdoor spaces. So with no further ado, I will turn it over to Michael.
All right, good morning, everyone. Are we able to screen share? Because I could pull up our guidelines on the screen. Would that help anyone?
Yep.
Is that possible? Okay.
That was perfect, thank you.
All right. All right. There we go. Can everyone see?
Yes, I can see.
Okay. Very good. So this is actually on our website now, and I have a PDF, or I printed to a PDF, so I can send you just a nice, concise 2-page document to anyone who needs it. Just send me an email, or I can even email it to the town, and you can get it from them. But anyway, it is on our website. But this is our new, so to speak, for this year. Given the pandemic and the people eating outside, things like that. So it's concise. You can see it's 2 pages. I'll make it a little small. There we go. So you can see this is mainly for tents. Now the tents that we are mainly concerned with are over 900 square feet. Under normal conditions, without the pandemic, tents over 900 square feet, meaning 901 plus, will require a permit, site plan review, interior floor plan review. It needs to have fire extinguishers, no smoking signs, exit signs. If there's sides, you need to show the exits. So it's almost like a building, not quite really a building, but it's treated like a small building. Anyway, so we have reminders here that certainly cannot be placed in a fire lane. It cannot block any fire protection system, such as a hydrant or a fire department connection, or roads. Obviously, that's a fire lane, but parking spaces, I guess, is mainly where these are, or yard area, that is okay. I would still run it by me or somebody, at least just to make sure. But most people know what a fire lane is, or fire hydrant. Obviously, don't obstruct any of that. The caveat that we're doing this year, or the allowance, I guess, is for tents that are over 900, and most are, because that's what you need in order to house a bunch of people. We are waiving the permitting fee, is what it is. So you see right here, it says no permit is required for tents less than 900, but for tents larger requires a permit, but the fees are waived, and that's for the whole COVID allowance. But the general rules must still be followed, and this is straight out of the fire code. So chapter 31 of the fire code. Any tent greater than 900 must be flame resistant with appropriate labeling. So the flame spread certificates, usually the tent supplier has this. So Brook Rental, for example, Vienna, that when you rent a tent from them, or for any amount of time, they should, and do, I know they do, but most suppliers have, or installers even, they have the flame spread certificate. It's a piece of paper, a certificate, but it's also sewn onto, I believe, the actual canvas of the tent fabric. But they pull it out of a filing cabinet and they have it there. So that needs to be submitted to us. It must be securely anchored, so usually with the water bottles or cinder blocks or some sort of weight on the outside, and that's just standard installation procedures. That's nothing different than the pandemic or non-pandemic. That's that has to happen anyway, and that's obviously for wind upheaval. And then be located at least 20 feet from any building that's on a separate lot. So basically, we can't make conditions worse for a neighbor, so to speak, or an adjoining property. So, and it's technically in the fire code, it says, lot lines, other buildings, parked vehicles. The parked vehicles, obviously, we're waiving, I guess is lack of a better word. We don't like it, but we understand it. So, obviously, Vienna, for example, they have no choice but to have their tent within 20 feet of a parked vehicle. So, that is a COVID thing. Try to be as far away from parked vehicles as possible. Try to be as fire safe as possible always, but that one is certainly waived. So these are the three big ones here. No cooking or open flames are permitted under any tent. That's pandemic or non-pandemic. That's fire code. So there's no flames underneath. Now, heating is a different scenario, and of course, we're talking about heating with the winter coming up. And you see down a little further down, and we even have an entire, I'll pull it up here in a minute, but we have an entire guideline on portable heaters. So that's patio heaters, tent heating, any sort of heating for the winter. So general guidance on permits can be found here. This is the link. Again, I have that. I could email it to anyone. But here we go, second page. So here's the outdoor dining will continue in the cold weather. So here's where we're talking about heating. LP gas or propane gas containers must be separated from the tent by a minimum of 10 feet and protected from tampering. So Ideally, if you get it in kind of a curb, a parking lot island, so to speak, that's 10 feet away, maybe behind the tent, something like that. Generators must be separated from the tent by a minimum of 20 feet. That's because there's fuel, liquid fuel involved. Heaters must be UL listed. So basically, you need to rent or purchase a solid product, so to speak, a manufactured product, if that makes sense, a UL listed product, no homemade heating devices is basically what we're saying. So tents, generators, and heaters that are not designed for snow loads should be removed. I don't know if we need to worry about that, especially this year, but in our climate is what I'm talking about. So let me try to find another one here. Stand by. Here is our temporary tent guideline. Everyone can see this. Let me minimize a little bit. There we go. So this is non-pandemic. This is standard tents for 2017, 2018, hopefully 2021, 22, 23. So this is just our standard tents. These are definition of a tent, membrane structure. Here's the approval process. This is under normal circumstances for any tent that is over 900 square feet. You would have an approval process. So you would submit plans. You would have an inspection, and the inspection is not waived. There will always be an inspection, even during the pandemic. So, but that's basically now, instead of plan review and an inspection, we only have the inspection. So here's how you retrieve your copies, blah, blah, blah. All right. So here's heating down here. You can see we're talking carnivals, fairs, open flames. So the display of use of open flames is prohibited under a tent. If you are heating and you have liquid propane, natural gas, I guess, if that's possible, probably not for a temporary tent, but any type of heating will require, or any type of fuel, will require that is a permit. And that's a standard, non-negotiable thing, pandemic or not. So that if you are heating with any sort of, fuel, liquid propane, that sort of thing, diesel generator, gasoline, that requires a permit. All right, candles, open flames. So here's where we're talking about open flames, other devices emitting flame, fire, or heat, any flammable combustible liquid. So the probable scenario, I would imagine, unless somebody comes up with something different, and we can certainly take a look at that. But the most probable scenario is going to be a forced air, some form of forced air heater, probably propane, where the heater needs to be 20 feet away. Right? Any cooking device, other approved devices should not be permitted inside the tent. So no heat generating device, whether it's a candle or a forced air heater or any bonfire, fire pit, anything, nothing inside the tent. And inside the tent, you could construe to mean within the boundaries of the tent, within the perimeter of the tent, or membrane structure. So tent membrane structure, same thing, unless approved by the fire marshal. Okay, so there's. Here's the flame spread certificate. It's called an NFPA 701 flame spread certificate. Basically, this must be readily available for the inspector, and this would occur if there were a plan review. But for this year, there's not. For this pandemic period. All right. And one last one I wanted to go over. Well, this is portable heaters. So this is not necessarily in a tent. If you have, an established patio, like for example, who has one? I don't know, maybe the front of, where Cold Stone, in front of Noodles and Company, that sort of thing. It's an established patio area, and permanent, I guess is the word, a permanent patio. So if you were to have a portable heater, something like this, like what they call those patio heaters, here's all the guidelines required on that. Clearance from the building, it must be at least 5 feet from the building. Prohibited storage, you can't store it inside the building, the fuel source at least. It can't be blocking an exit, that sort of thing. So this is standard. This doesn't change with the COVID. So I can send everyone this. And I think I had one more that specifically talks about heating. Yes, okay. So is that too small? All right, so this is kind of an FAQ, so to speak. It's just a concise guideline on heating, and we can go over that. So multiple styles of heaters on the market, and that's what we're talking about. I mean, it has to be a UL listed, and a marketed product, so to speak. And basically that means no homemade heaters. So electric heaters, that we have electric heaters, the patio heaters, those are the ones we just talked about. Catalytic heaters, ducted heaters, that's the forced air type of scenario. So they're all right here. We have all the guidelines, 5-foot clearance. We just went over that. General safety provisions, which I follow when using fuel heaters. The tent must be separated from the heating device, and then the fuel device needs to be separated from that. So there's 3 different items that need to be separated. And obviously no smoking is allowed. That is all the time, not pandemic specific. Generators shall be located 20 feet. We went over that. So this is, I believe that the first one I went over has this into it. That was a kind of a revision, but I like to keep this one as well, just in case there's a little bit of additional information here. But I have all these for anyone who needs them. This is the main one, like I said. We added this little section on heating at the bottom. But basically, it's not much different than what the fire code spells out for tents under any time, pandemic or not. The only difference is we are waiving the plan review fee, and for tents over 900. That's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions or a specific situation, I know that people are calling in. Vienna Inn. There was one over near Cafe Renaissance, I believe. We're just kind of saying, hey, can this go here? What do you think? It's a case-by-case basis. We get it. The restaurant world, so to speak, I guess the restaurants are trying to keep afloat and keep business, whatever. We understand that. That's why we're trying to be a little lenient. But, obviously with fire safety, there can't be too much compromise. So if anyone has any questions, again, I think most of you'll get what out of this is if I just send this to you and you read over it, you design. This is what Vienna Inn did. We kind of worked with them. We gave them the guidelines, and he put together, him and his architect put together a scenario on paper, and they looked at it and said, hey, what if we put this here, and we tweaked it a little bit, whatever, and then we came up with something good, and they're looking to be approved here this week. So same thing, case by case basis. Give me a call anytime. I will leave my contact information with the town, and that is it. Anyone have any questions?
We will, thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
You can stay on for a little bit longer.
Sure. Oh yeah, I'll stay on the whole thing. I'm gonna stop sharing.
So now we're going to turn it over to our Town of Vienna Department of Planning and Zoning. Our superstars will come in and give their information on what our restaurants and entertainment venues can be looking forward to and what they need to be doing. And then after that, we will be having our Q&A for Michael and Kelly.
All right.
I'm turning over to you all.
Okay, thank you, Janae. My name is Michael D'Orazio, Deputy Director of Planning and Zoning. I'm also here with Kelly O'Brien, Principal Planner over at the Planning and Zoning Department. So we have don't have too much to share with you, just kind of I guess telling everyone again that they should be applying for temporary permits for outdoor usage of seating or any other type of commercial activity. We have had a lot of businesses that have applied, which we are very thankful for. Again, anyone that has not yet applied for commercial activity outdoor, that includes outdoor dining in a parking lot or a patio that hasn't already been approved, we would encourage you to do so. I'm going to share my screen right now just to show you where you can find out how to file for a permit. So again, if you go to the temporary permits page, which I believe Natalie has shared with everyone in the chat, there is information on filling out a temporary permit application, which is done through the town's IDT plan review software. So if you go to the IDT plans right here and submit for review, all you have to do is go to temporary permits. And then if you're doing outdoor commercial activity, just apply for a commercial activity permit. We also do have a guide on our website here on how to do so. And then if you're making a revision to an already approved temporary permit, we would ask that you resubmit a revision essentially to the permit that's already been approved. And we do have a guide on the website as well for how to do that. So it's just right here. If you'd like to revise it for the winter months, just follow this guide. And it goes through the steps of how you would revise an already approved permit that you've already submitted through the IDD plan software. So again, it's fairly thorough. If you have any questions, you can always ask staff. You can email us at dbc@vienva.gov, or you could just call us at our phone, which is 703-255-6341. And then Kelly is here as well. I believe she was going to share some news on the zoning code update that we're currently
Yes, thank you, Michael. Yes, so as some of you may already be aware, and hopefully everyone will be aware soon, the town is starting a zoning and subdivision code update. It is sorely overdue, and topics just like this, outdoor dining, are a topic that we'd like to get everyone's thoughts and impressions on as we are updating our code. Has last been updated in 1960s, so it is sorely in need of an update. One of the things that we're doing for education as part of the process is lunch and learns. So our first lunch and learn is this Friday. It's just why an update now. And our director, Cindy Petcack, will be going at a quick 20-minute overview of why the update needs to happen, what is zoning, how is the comprehensive plan, go into that. And we'll be having those every first and third Friday of the month. The first one is just generic. After that, we'll be alternating residential commercial. So the third Friday will be commercial focused. So the first commercial one will be, what's your sign? Talking about sign ordinance issues. But we just wanted to give a quick plug for that. And if you go to we'll put a link to the registration in here for this first webinar on Friday. They'll also be recorded and they'll be on our project website. So we look forward to reaching out to all the businesses and getting your feedback and input and having you be part of this process with us as we update our code. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly and Mike. So I'm going to now open it up for Q&A. If you have any questions, please just place them in our chat. I will give you all a minute to give us some wonderful questions for our panelists. But if there's no questions, we will move on to the next segment.
I have a question.
Oh,
Let's say that I'm a business owner in town and I heard the county from Michael Peruti talk about the fire, heating, tent situation. But then I also heard Mike DeRazio from the town talk about a permit. So what do I do first? Do I get all of my permits lined up with the county first and then go to the town? How does that happen?
I would say it's concurrent. I would probably start with the town just because the town owns the town. I mean, the town, for example, if you're doing a building permit in the town of Herndon, you would go to the town of Herndon Town Hall first, start the process, so to speak, and then as part of that, I'm one of three parts for that. So same thing with putting a tent in the town. I would go to the town first, start with them, and then of course they're going to say, hey, don't forget you have to go see the fire marshal. So whatever, and everything can be done electronically. I don't think, well, our building is closed to the public, so everything has to be done electronically. But just at that point, I would just email me and say, hey, I'm going to put a tent up, and then we start the process there. It's I don't want to say informal in terms of not important, but it's informal in terms of, you don't have to put a suit on and come in, that sort of thing. So I would start with the town because the town, it's the zoning and the everything and the business license or whatever needs to happen. So I would start with the town, and then I would be one part, part of that process.
I agree. It would be one of our comments. So if we see that the tent over, we'd say, okay, here's a comment. You need to reach out to the
Exactly.
fire marshal
Right.
and get approval. So
the town has a checklist, and their checklist, is overall. As part of that checklist, I'm one of the checks on the checklist is all. So that's all. Yeah.
And from the fire marshal's office, do I get an actual like certificate? What do I get?
No, you'll get an inspection.
Inspection. And if I pass inspection, what happens next?
Then you entertain people in your dining tent.
No, I mean, like, do I get something that says formally from the fire marshal's office?
Oh yeah, you'll get a report of inspection that says, this tent is good, so to speak. This tent is compliant with Chapter 31 of the Fire Code. Yes, you will get something. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just asking a question. The very
right. Keep in mind, these are tents over 900 square feet, so 901 square feet plus. If you're putting up a 40 by 20 tent, then we don't even know it exists, really.
And
now,
can we also tents next to each other?
Well, that said, okay, very good. Aggregate tents, if two 20 by 40s equals greater than 900, that would require a permit. Does that make sense? So also, if you have a small tent, let's say 200 by 100, something obviously not 900, but you have any questions about whether or not it is in a good location, even though you don't need a permit, and the whole interior floor plan and everything else, if you're putting any obstruction, and no matter how big it is, in front of a fire department, or you want to, proposed fire department connection, fire hydrant, fire lane, whatever, you can just run that by, and we can just, Google Earth, take a look at an aerial photograph. I think Kelly and I did that once. We were looking at whatever, remember, wasn't that Cafe Renaissance or whatever it was? So,
yes.
So it's very easy to do that. Just kind of run it by me. Don't just put up a tent in front of a hydrant, because that's, if you get caught, that's not good. Plus, oh, by the way, you may block the hydrant. Somebody else needs the hydrant. So whether you need a permit or not, whether your tent is 901 plus or not, if you have any questions, or even I would just do it anyway, just kind of at least send a picture or an address and say, hey, I'm so-and-so on Branch Road. I'm going to take a look. What do you think? So that's it. But if it is the formal process with the 901 plus, you will get the inspection. You will get an inspection report that says, compliant, good to go.
Awesome. So as a recap, I need a temporary permit from the town of Vienna if I have a tent up or some type of temporary structure to have commercial outdoor, activity, whether that's dining or retail. I need a temporary permit, and I need to have a permit to have 901 square feet plus. Marshal's office. And if I would like to have heating devices as part of my outdoor activity, I also have, permission, or I need to make sure that it's signed off.
Right. Heating, unless there's some new way of heating out there, which we don't know about yet, but any form of heating is a permit regardless. And that's the heating aspect of it. That has nothing to do with the tent. So that's more or less a fuel thing as opposed to the heating of a tent thing. It's just in order to heat a tent, you have to use fuel. So that's non-pandemic. That's been in the fire code for years.
Okay.
Tents, large tent versus small tent. So 900 is a cutoff. Any tent, I would run by me just to make sure, if it's outside, of course, if it's remotely possible to obstruct any fire department connection, hydrant, whatever, I'd just run it by and say, hey, I would move it 10 feet to the left. It's as easy as that. With the 901 plus square foot tents, that's when you have to do something formal, but it's less formal than non-pandemic. Does that make sense?
Yes. And for the record, no fees. And we don't have fees in the town, and we don't have fees on the county side.
Correct. All fees are waived. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
All the fees are waived. Yeah.
And can we speak about sides on tents, even tents that are 900 square feet or less than 900 square feet?
Yes. Good. That is very good. Sides requires the permit also. So 901, if you're putting sides on it, that requires a plan review. Does it make sense? Because when you're putting sides on, you're making it harder to get out of the tent, so to speak. You're channelizing your egress. So when you have no sides, if you can't find your way out of that, then, whatever. But when you put sides on, obviously you're closing in daylight. You're making it darker. You have to put up the exit signs, whatever. So that requires the interior floor plan review. And basically all it is you're showing where the tables or whatever's going to be tables in this case, where tables and chairs are going to be set up. You want to make sure that you don't have a table set up right in front of an exit, that sort of thing. It's common sense. I'm sure that no one's going to put a table in front of an exit, I would hope. But obviously, with the authority having jurisdiction, we need to verify that. That's all that is. But yeah, very good call on the sides. Size usually goes along with heating. I don't think it would work to heat a tent with no sides, but I mean, I guess if you're sitting right in front of the heater, it might work. But that's a very good call. So if there are sides, then that would trigger the plan review, but certainly no fees.
I have a question.
Okay.
So I actually have two questions. So if will you be making any surprise inspections? Will you just be popping up at restaurants to make sure they're in compliance? And my second question is, how can the public find out if a restaurant has already done their due diligence? Is that public record? Is it on the website?
If a restaurant has what?
If the restaurant has done their due diligence.
Well, all right. So to answer part one, yes and no. We're not driving around specifically looking for violations. However, we do drive around a lot doing other normal scheduled inspections. And if we see something, we're obligated to say, hey, what is that? So I don't know if you guys heard about Tyson's Beer Garden or whatever back in 2, 3, 4 years ago. But an inspector was just driving down Route 7 and saw a humongous tent and looked it up, and there was no permit, whatever. So that kind of goes with part B. Your second question is, how will we know? If you do it properly, meaning, plan review with a report of inspection and it has an inspection number and everything that can be tracked, then that will be in the computer, so to speak. So yes, and you'll have it on site. So if we drive by and an inspector sees something and says, goes up to the owner and says, hey, do you have your report of inspection? Then you pull it out and you show it to them, then you're good. So yes, it would be on the computer. If you need a copy of it, you can call us. Although you should have your own copy, but if you do need a copy, it'll be in the computer if it's done properly. These are tents only over 900. So, and again, I would always at least have an email trail. That's why I say for tents under 900, at least have an email trail with me that you went over, hey, what's a good location? Make sure you're not blocking anything. Now, if we go over it and I say, yeah, it's good, 10 feet to the left, whatever, not in front of the hydrant, and then the inspector drives by and you moved it over and it's in front of the hydrant, then, you're on your own. So, and worst case, he'll probably just ask you to move it. He's not going to shut anyone down or whatever, but just know that anything against the fire code is not good, first of all, and it, could possibly lead to, a summons or whatever. It would have to be really bad. But like I said, worst case is, if there's anything blocking, hey, just move it over 5 feet. Same thing we do with an exit. If you have a bunch of boxes because you just got a shipment or something in front of an exit door, hey, get those out of the way. You just move them and then you're fine. So, but yes, there should be a record for any formal, reports of inspection that did happen or needed to happen or did happen. They will be on record for sure. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. Natalie, do you have any questions?
No, you guys did great. Thank you, part one panelists. I appreciate everything that you provided and the information, very helpful.
Okay.
All right. So
is there an email list for the attendees, or if I just send it to you, maybe you could just forward the email, because I'll put all my attachments in there, and then it'll also have my contact information in my email signature. So I'll just forward an email to you then. Okay. All right.
Forward it to me, and I will send in our final email that we send out to attendees.
Very good.
We give all that wonderful information that you all provide.
Very good.
Thank you. So now we'll turn over to Fairfax County Health Department. You are still muted.
Sorry about that. Can
No
you see
worries.
it?
Yep, we see everything.
Okay. Sorry, I had actually started talking and I realized I was muted. So it's a common occurrence with me. Oh God, scary, scary. Okay, so myself, I'm Debbie Crabtree, and behind me, 6 feet behind me is Suja Warrior, and we're with the Fairfax County Health Department. And we were going to go over just a little of the phase 3 guidelines of the governor's orders. Basically, it's the safer at home guidelines for restaurants and beverage service like a beer facility or a wine facility, the guidelines that they would have to follow for the pandemic. So physical distancing is important. You have to have all people within the restaurant that come within different parties. So a party doesn't mean you're a family or related. It's just people who come together. So if you come together with 4 of your coworkers, you're all in a party together. So you don't have to be 6 feet apart. But if I come and a different party comes, someone I don't know, we have to be seated 6 feet apart. Businesses have to post signage about COVID symptoms. And the sign says on the 3rd bullet, symptoms of COVID-19 or known exposure to COVID-19 case in the prior 14 days is not permitted in the establishment. And all customers should wear face coverings. Now we have on the 4th bullet, we have no restaurant dining rooms expansion without permit. And this is specifically for the town of Vienna. So Fairfax County, the county itself can do it, but in the town of Vienna, you have to have a permit. And well, for the exterior, but no restaurant dining room expansions were meaning of the interior portion. They require permits for the whole county. There's no seating at the bar area, so that's closed to patrons. So you can't pull up a bar stool and have a beer at the bar. That's not permitted. And karaoke, you can't have karaoke. It must be closed. You can't have performers, and they have to be 10 feet away from everyone, but there's no karaoke. There's a 250 patron or less. And now in this phase 3, you can have buffets for self-service, but they have to have a staff person from the restaurant continually monitoring, are you touching, are you picking up the food, or, you want to make sure it's done safely. The utensils have to be changed every hour, and they have to have some kind of hand sanitizer or gloves or something before the people can go and serve themselves on the line. Okay. Hookah or shisha is allowed if the hookah is not shared. So a lot of facilities, restaurants have hookah. You can smoke a hookah, but you have to be 10 feet apart from another person, and you cannot share it. You have to have your own hookah, and they have to disinfect. So after I finish smoking hookah, they have to disinfect it before they sell it. sell the use to someone else. At servers, they have to wash their hands before, for 20 seconds before they reset tables. So they're, the clear the items off the table, and then before it's reset, you have to wash your hands and reset the silverware. So for drinks, initially with the pandemic, we were not allowed to self-serve yourself drinks at the beverage equipment. You can do it now if it's a touchless design. So the ones where you take the cup and put it against the bar or handle and have the soda come out that way, that's fine. You can do that. Employees working in customer-facing areas should wear masks. They have to wear masks. Now, I want to say that even if you're not in a customer-facing area, if it's an area that customers can see, and just for your own protection and your coworkers' protection, a face mask should be worn. You have to wear it in the customer-facing areas, but if you're being on the cook line, even though I know it's hot, you should wear a mask. So for your safety and for your coworkers. So there is the frequently contact surfaces like the restrooms, the door handles and things like that should be cleaned every hour. But things that should be cleaned but between patrons, so if you have one group of customers that come for lunch, sit down at a table, when they leave, should be disinfected before the next party comes. And if any of these requirements cannot be adhered to, so if you can't do any of them, you should not open, or you should change your business model so that you can adhere to the requirements. And that is it. So if you have any questions, yeah, there's links here for you. The Ford Virginia website that has the phase 3 frequently asked questions. And as we progress with the pandemic, went phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So the requirements have been less stringent. The governor has relaxed some of the requirements, and they're all up on the webpage, so you can keep abreast with that. And if hopefully not, but just let's say we go backwards, and he might have to reinstate something, it will be posted on there also. We're going to keep our fingers crossed that doesn't happen, but we'll also have to be diligent in our public safety as well as our own safety. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Deborah?
This is a good job. No one has questions. That's great.
I know, it was very thorough. Thank you. So just a reminder, we will be sharing this information with you all in our final email. So please be on the lookout for that great information from Deborah. Okay. So without further ado, we will turn over to our final panelists. Once again, I want to bring on Leonardo Murata from Bromic Heating. He was on our part 1 of our Town of Vienna Winterization Heating series. And he had great insight for the first part, and I know he'll bring even more detailed and wonderful insight for you all. All right, I'm turning.
Hi, Janae. Thank you for the warm introduction, and thank you and Natalie for having me on for part 2 again as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can review some of our outdoor heating solutions that hopefully will be useful for some of your restaurants and other establishments to help kind of winterize and prepare for the colder months. Just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen. All right, and actually, Michael Peruti, if you would like to jump in at any time to discuss any fire safety or any regulations like that based on the material I'm presenting, feel free to jump in, because I know you touched on a lot of fire safety information earlier, which was great.
Right.
So we'll get right into it here. So we're called Bromic Heating. We are a Sydney, Australia-based outdoor heating solution manufacturer. We've been around the market for approximately 40 years, in the US for about the last 10 years. And we have a full range of outdoor heating products that are catered towards outdoor heating in restaurants, hotel patios, such as rooftop bars, for example, and also for residential applications as well. All of our products are UL listed, CSA certified as well, and we conform to all the NFPA and ANSI standards, which Michael touched upon earlier. So these are definitely not your homemade backyard heaters. These are certified for both commercial and residential use. So over here, this is an overview of our full outdoor heating line. On the left-hand side, this is called our Tungsten Smart Heat Portable Heater. It's currently our only portable propane offering. It's a very interesting design when compared to your standard sort of umbrella or mushroom type of heater. Basically, you store the propane tank in the base of the heater. This can handle a 20-pound standard propane tank, which will allow the heater to run for approximately 8 hours. Or you can go for a larger 30-pound tank, which will allow the heater to operate for approximately somewhere between 12 to 13 hours. This is the heater head right here. Now this is about 7 feet tall. Clearances, you want to make sure that you have at least 3 feet directly above this heater to any sort of structure that you might have. Now, this heater will heat approximately 16 to 16 and a half feet directly in front of the surface. And what it does is it directs the heat outwards from the heater surface rather than heat in a circle around itself, which is what the mushroom or the umbrella portable heaters do. So you would essentially be able to heat a space with fewer of these heaters than you would the traditional portable type. And what's great about these is that you can have them, if you have a tent structure, for example, on your in a parking lot, you could potentially put these on the sidewalk and direct them into the openings of the tent and be able to heat inside from outside the tent, so that you can keep the heater, far away, well enough away from the tent as required by the local fire marshal guidelines. And then on the top, you see our Platinum Smart Heat electric heater and our Tungsten Smart Heat electric heater. These are going to be fixed hardwired electric heaters. They both run on 240 power, so it is a higher voltage, which we recommend for effective electric outdoor heaters. And on the bottom, you have our fixed gas heaters. This one here is called the Platinum Smart Heat Gas. And on the right-hand side, you have our Tungsten Smart Heat Gas heaters. These can be run on either natural gas or propane. Generally speaking, though, we do mostly see these run on natural gas. Now I'll get into some of the specifics for these products. This is the Platinum Smart Heat Gas heater. So it can be ceiling mounted to a fixed structure with the use of our ceiling poles. Now you can mount 2 heaters back to back on a single ceiling pole, which allows for sort of a seamless installation. You have what's called the heat deflector accessory above the heater head here. What this means is basically you need approximately 14 inches of clearance from this heat deflector to the ceiling directly above. Now, if you have a fabric awning or a canvas structure directly above, you would have to coordinate with us to verify what the exact necessary clearances would be. Since again, a canvas or fabric awning is something that we would consider combustible. So generally speaking, you would see maybe 2 to 3 feet of clearance.
3 feet.
3 feet. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. I'm going to go with Michael on that one. And minimum safety clearances to the bottom edge of the heater head are going to be 8 feet. Again, that's a safety clearance, so nobody reaches up and touches it and burns themselves, because the surface of this heater, these are very efficient heaters, so the surface can get to about approximately 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Hence the 8-foot requirement. So essentially, the shortest ceiling that you would be able to install one of our fixed gas heaters would be approximately 10 foot 2 inches from the floor to the ceiling. And then you would add another 3 feet on top of that if you have a tent or sort of a canvas fabric awning. Okay, this is what it looks like when it's turned on. You have 5 red heating tiles behind the heater surface. It's got a ceramic glass surface, which helps distribute the heat very evenly. And it also has a very sort of premium high-end look as well. You'll heat approximately 200 to 215 square feet with one of these heaters. All right, and I'll move on to our Platinum Smart Heat electric heater. So this is, again, one of our high-end sort of sleek, slimline electric heaters. It also has a ceramic glass surface on this, much like the Platinum Smart Heat gas heater. This one can be either ceiling mounted or wall mounted. This is what it looks like when it's installed. Now, from the back of the bracket to the heater surface, you have approximately 8 inches of length here. And so this will fit for, if you have a shorter ceiling, obviously you want to make sure to keep the heater surface at a minimum 8 feet off the ground. So if you have a shorter ceiling, such as 8'8" or 9'8", this is the heater that would fit in between those clearances. This is if you have a fixed ceiling. Again, this is something that can be recessed into the ceiling for a very flush, clean look as well. And it can also be wall mounted. So the minimum clearances when wall mounting our Platinum electric heater would be 6 feet to the bottom edge of the heater. And then you would require 6 inches directly above of clearance. And again, that would be to a non-combustible ceiling. We do offer different ceiling poles to help drop this down. This is an image of the 4-foot pole for this heater. We also have a 2-foot pole. We like to see the surface of this heater between 8 to 9 feet off the ground for maximum efficiency. The further you get away from the heating element of an infrared heater, the less you'll feel the effect. So you want to make sure that you have the heater head at a very effective heating height. For the gas heaters, that'll be the bottom edge between 8 to 10 feet. And then for this electric heater, it'll be 8 to 9 feet off the ground. All right, and with one of these, we have this heater available in 2 models, but for the geographic area, the climate that you experience in Vienna, I would only recommend the larger one, which is approximately 50 inches long, and it'll cover about 100 to 108 square feet per heater. Moving on to the tungsten line of heaters, this is our tungsten smart heat gas heater. Essentially, it's very similar in construction to the Platinum smart heat gas heater I showed you earlier. The main difference is going to be the aesthetics. Rather than having a ceramic glass surface, this has an open mesh, and it resembles a loudspeaker a little bit more, whereas the Platinum gas heater might resemble a flat screen TV, for example. All clearances will remain the same, 8 feet to the bottom edge of the heater, and then 14 inches directly above, or 3 feet to any fabric type of material. Now you can wall mount the heater without any additional accessories. We have what's called a wall bracket behind this heater, which will allow you to mount to a flat surface, a flat vertical surface, or you can use our ceiling poles to drop the heater down from a ceiling structure as well. The last electric heater that we have is called our Tungsten Smart Heat electric heater. This is this heater is what we consider our workhorse heater. We have it available in different wattages that you can see here on the right: 6,000, 4,000, 3,000, and 2,000. Now the 6,000 watt heater will cover approximately 160 square feet, and we like to see the surface of this heater anywhere between 8 to 10 feet off the ground. From the back of the mounting bracket, which I'll show you here. So from the back of the mounting bracket here to the heater surface, we have approximately 13 inches of length. the mounting surface, if it's a ceiling, should be between 9'1" to 11'1". Anything higher than 11'1", we have a 3-foot suspension pole that you can use to, again, drop the heater down to an effective heating height. This here is the AC Hotel in Nashville. You can see they're using the 3-foot poles for the heaters. And then these can also be wall mounted 6 feet off the ground, but it is a higher powered electric heater, so you would require at least 12 inches of clearance directly above the heater head. And this one here pivots. It will be at a fixed 15-degree angle or 30-degree angle down towards the ground. These are very directional heaters, so you want to make sure that when you install them, they're pointing towards your main seating area. It's kind of what you see in the image on the left-hand side over here. We have the heater in a white color as well to match different ceiling aesthetics that you might have in your restaurants. And that's when it looks like when it's turned on. This is in Navy Yards in DC at a rooftop bar. So this heater uses a quartz element, which is orange on the inside, but doesn't emit any light whatsoever. You would compare that to different heaters that you might have seen on the market, which are called halogen heaters, which kind of emit a bright red light. So, you know, if you're in a restaurant, if you're on a patio under a halogen heater, everything's kind of, you know, everyone's face is bright red and your food kind of looks brown and unappetizing. So it doesn't make for very Instagram friendly locations. But our heaters use a quartz element, so there's no light emission whatsoever. And we do have a full set of wireless controls for the heaters as well. The electric heaters can be fully dimmed from 0 to 100%. Gas heaters will be on, off only. Depending on the wattage of your electric heater, you may or may not need anywhere between 1 to 2 controls, let me rephrase that. You may need 1 control per heater or 1 control for every pair of heaters. And then finally, this is our portable heater, the Tungsten Portable, which heats, again, in a very directional pattern. So you could place this outside of a temporary structure like a tent and then direct the heat into the structure without having to physically place the heater underneath the tent, which could be a fire hazard. Now, finally, we do have a complimentary design service. So if you are interested in heating your patios, and if you have architectural plans, pictures, or just dimensions of your space that you can send us, we'll do a full review and return it to you within 2 business days to show you exactly how many heaters you would need to fully winterize your patio space. And we'll give guidance on, you know, how many heaters, you know, the quantity that you would need, where to best place them, clearances to any other elements that we would see in the pictures that you send us. So, for example, from the surface of the heater, you want to maintain at least 3 feet of clearance to any lights that you might have in the vicinity, any ceiling fans or speakers and TVs, and also to sprinkler heads. Now, sprinkler heads should never be directly above a infrared patio heater. And you want to make sure that you use high temp sprinkler heads in your patios. So we state that you can reach temperatures of up to 149 degrees above ambient temperatures, up to 3 feet away from the heater surface. I know that's a lot of information there, but basically you want to use high temp sprinkler heads that are rated to at least 209 degrees Fahrenheit, and make sure that they're placed at least 3 feet away from the heater surface, or else they'll pop off and somebody's going to be comping drinks and food, which we don't really want to do. So those are some of the other clearances that you want to keep in mind. If you have a patio that's fully enclosable, you want to use electric heaters. Our electric heaters are certified for indoor use as well as outdoor use. You're not combusting any gas or emitting any fumes. So you can enclose a patio and use the heaters as your main heating source. If you're using gas heaters, at least 25% of the space has to remain open for ventilation purposes. And that's for both propane and natural gas heaters. And I think that is pretty much it. Operationally, this is some good information as well. So our most powerful electric heater, which is the Tungsten 6,000 watt heater, is approximately 88 cents per hour to operate per heater. And the largest natural gas heater that we have, the 500 series, either platinum or tungsten, is approximately 40 cents per hour to run per heater. Now these are Southern California rates, which our office is located in Southern California, in Orange County, and these are some of the higher figures that you might see in the country. So you might have lower kilowatt hour rates, lower rates per therm for natural gas heaters locally. Generally speaking, though, electric heaters are a little bit more expensive to run, but then they are a little bit more flexible, where you can use them in enclosed spaces, you can recess them into ceilings, you can use them where you might not have enough clearance to use a gas heater, for example. So yeah, I would say that pretty much wraps it up for me. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them in the Q&A portion. Michael, do you have anything to add based on this information here?
No, you hit it all correctly. Sounds like obviously your products are, you know, a manufactured product, a UL listed product. So that's half the battle, I guess. And then you mentioned, I heard you mention hardwired for anything electric. That is correct. You know, I understand this is hopefully not going to be up forever, certainly when it gets warmer again, but it can't be, you know, extension cord temporary. It's got to be some form of permanent, you know, so hardwired basically. And then, yeah, 3 feet for electric heaters to any combustible or a tent membrane, a tent fabric, 3 feet. And then for the portable heaters, you have a higher end product than the mushroom heaters, but you know, any sort of gas fired device cannot be under anything really, any awning, tent, whatever. That's probably mainly for the not probably, it is mainly for the you know, carbon monoxide aspect of it, and the fire hazard aspect of it. But that those types of gas fired heaters need to be 5 feet from anything combustible. So 3 feet for electric, 5 feet for gas fired. Nothing gas fired under, you know, like it needs to be able to be rained on, so to speak, and then hardwired for electric heat. But yeah, you hit everything. You hit everything correctly. Yep.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Any questions for Leonardo? Oh, Peggy James has a late question regarding health. Yeah, go ahead. Deborah, Peggy would like to know where can she locate the karaoke guidelines?
The karaoke guidelines can all the guidelines are on the Virginia, the governor's webpage. So the Governor Northam's webpage is safer at home phase 3 guidelines. They're all on the Governor Northam's webpage. So I can, let's see, I can tell you the exact link. Huh. Yeah, the last page of the slide, but so I can tell you I'll tell you the link now, and then we will we'll send you the link. We'll send you the presentations. You can send it out to people. They're probably also going to be on the Fairfax County website, which is fairfaxcounty.gov/health, then novel coronavirus food establishments. But we'll send you we'll send it to you. Okay. Yeah, we'll send you the presentation. You can send it out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I look forward to that email. Any other questions for all of our panelists? Okay, gotcha. So Peggy's been saying she was given information that it seems like the karaoke information came off of the governor's guidance, came off the governor's guidance. But this is why we have these presentations, so that we can find out the exact information from our local government. They are getting that information firsthand. They are they're essential workers basically, and are out there giving suggestions, being advocates for you all, for Fairfax County, and helping us, you know, manage through this. This is not easy, but we are all trying our best to make sure that life is a little bit livable. And I have to say, Leonardo's slides, especially the one with the yacht in the beach, I'm just like, oh, I just want to travel so bad. So it's a little travel envy from the slides. I'll be okay. I'll just have a glass of wine on my deck later. Okay. So if there's no other questions, we'll start to wrap this up, and just thank you everyone for taking your time out to talk to our town and, you know, provide feedback and guidance. Thank you to Leonardo for giving us not only just one day, but 2 days of presentation and feedback, and knowing that you're on the West Coast, so you're up a little bit earlier than, you know, probably normal. So thank you. Thank you to our Department of Planning and Zoning. You guys are, of course, superstars. Thank you, Michael Peruti, for your wonderful information and staying on and, you know, giving clarification. And thank you to our Fairfax Department of Health. You guys, again, you're helping keep our county going, and we are all grateful. So that is it. Like I said, this is recorded. All panelists, and will receive a recording and also receive information from our panelists with links to websites and PDFs, so that you'll be able to get in contact with them if need be. They are open, so you can call, email our panelists and get more guidance if you have any questions or need clarification. So that is it. If there's nothing else.
County Fire Marshal, town resident.
There you go. Oh, very good.
Go
Town
Vienna.
resident here too. Very, very good. So Michael is right here in the town of Vienna and understands. So thank you. Well, we got that town connection.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Yep.
The weather's nice, so get out there and walk around a little bit. All right.
All right.